When I first heard Priscilla Presley's latest interview, it hit me like a freight train. The woman who lived through Elvis's death just revealed something that made even that tragedy feel different. And what she said about January 12th, 2023 will absolutely break your heart. Picture this. You're 80 years old, you've survived losing the king of rock and roll, and you think you faced the worst life could throw at you. But then your phone rings on a Thursday morning, and everything changes forever. That's exactly what happened to Priscilla Presley. But here's where it gets really devastating. She told People magazine that losing Lisa Marie was the second saddest day of my life, other than losing Elvis. Think about that for a second. This woman buried her ex-husband at the height of his fame, watched the world mourn alongside her, and yet losing her daughter somehow felt different. And what she said about January 12th, 2023 will absolutely break your heart. Picture this. You're 80 years old, you've survived losing the king of rock and roll, and you think you faced the worst life could throw at you. But then your phone rings on a Thursday morning, and everything changes forever. That's exactly what happened to Priscilla Presley. But here's where it gets really devastating. She told People magazine that losing Lisa Marie was the second saddest day of my life other than losing Elvis. Think about that for a second. This woman buried her ex-husband at the height of his fame, watched the world mourn alongside her, and yet losing her daughter somehow felt different. Now you might be wondering what actually happened that day, because the details that just came out will shock you. Danny Keough, Lisa Marie's ex-husband, found her completely unresponsive at her home. Not just unconscious, unresponsive. There's a huge difference, and if you've ever been in that situation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The panic, the fear, the way your hands shake as you're calling 911. But here's what nobody talks about. The medical reason behind this tragedy is something millions of Americans are dealing with right now. Lisa Marie had undergone bariatric surgery years earlier, weight loss surgery. It's become incredibly common with over 250,000 procedures performed annually in the U.S. Doctors promote it as safe, life-changing, transformative, but what they don't always mention are the long-term complications. And this is where Lisa Marie's story takes a heartbreaking turn. Years after her surgery, she developed what's called a small bowel obstruction. Now, this might sound like medical jargon, but let me break it down for you. Imagine your intestines getting twisted or blocked. It's excruciating pain, and it can be fatal if not treated immediately. The scariest part? This complication can happen months or even years after the original surgery. You think you're safe, you think you've moved on, and then your body betrays you. But what Priscilla revealed about those final hours at the hospital, man, it still gives me chills. She raced to the hospital where Lisa Marie had been taken. And listen to this, she stayed all day long. All day. Can you imagine sitting in those sterile hospital hallways, watching the love of your life fight for every breath? Because here's the brutal reality Priscilla shared. She really wasn't breathing. She was on a ventilator for hours. Hours of waiting, hoping, praying that somehow, some way, she'd pull through. Now, I've been in hospital waiting rooms before, and let me tell you something. Time moves differently there. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like days. And when it's your child fighting for their life, I can't even imagine. Priscilla described those agonizing moments. We were there, waiting, hoping, and praying. 3 words that capture the helplessness every parent fears most. Waiting because there's nothing else you can do. Hoping because it's all you have left. Praying because sometimes faith is the only thing standing between you and complete despair. And then came the moment that changed everything forever. The doctor walked in. Now, if you've ever been in this situation, you know exactly what that walk looks like. Doctors have a different posture when they're about to deliver devastating news. Their shoulders drop slightly, their pace slows, and they take this deep breath before they speak. He looked at Priscilla and said those words no parent should ever hear. Priscilla, I'm so sorry, she's gone. Gone. Just like that. One moment you're a mother holding on to hope, The next moment, you're a mother holding on to memories. But here's what really gets to me about Priscilla's story. At 80 years old, after everything she's been through, the meteoric rise of Elvis, the pressures of fame, the divorce, Elvis's struggles with addiction, his death at 42, she thought she understood grief. She thought she'd experienced the worst possible loss. And then life taught her that grief isn't a competition. It's not about which loss hurts more. It's about how each loss changes you in ways you never expected. We just couldn't believe it. Didn't want to believe it, she admitted. And honestly, that's the most human response imaginable. Denial isn't just a stage of grief. It's a survival mechanism. Our minds literally refuse to accept realities that feel too big, too painful, too final. The family was in complete shock. And why wouldn't they be? Lisa Marie was only 54. In today's world, that's young. That's supposed to be the prime years, the grandparent years, the finally getting to enjoy life years. But here's something most people don't realize about the Presley family. They've been dealing with tragedy in the public eye for decades. Every loss, every struggle, every private moment of grief becomes tabloid headlines. Imagine mourning your daughter while photographers wait outside the hospital. Imagine planning a funeral while reporters dissect every detail of your family's pain. Priscilla has had to grieve twice now with the entire world watching. First Elvis, now Lisa Marie, and each time she's had to be strong not just for herself, but for millions of fans who feel like they knew her family personally. The weight of that responsibility, I can't even fathom it. And here's where Priscilla's interview revealed something that really struck me. It took a long time to come to terms with the fact that Lisa was gone. Notice she didn't say accept. She said come to terms with. There's a difference. Acceptance suggests peace, resolution. Coming to terms suggests ongoing struggle, a daily choice to face reality even when reality feels impossible. This is a woman who's now outlived both her ex-husband and her only child. Think about that family tree for a moment. The Presley legacy, one of the most famous families in American history, and Priscilla is watching it end before her eyes. But what about Elvis's influence on all this? Here's something most people don't consider. Lisa Marie grew up as Elvis Presley's daughter. Not just any celebrity's child, Elvis's child. The pressure, the expectations, the constant comparisons to a father who died when she was just 9 years old. That kind of childhood leaves marks, creates struggles that follow you into adulthood. And those struggles often manifest in ways we don't expect. Weight issues, relationship problems, the constant search for identity outside of your famous parents' shadow. It's a burden that contributed to the very surgery that ultimately led to her death. The irony is heartbreaking. Lisa Marie underwent bariatric surgery to improve her health, to extend her life, to be there for her own children longer. Instead, it became the very thing that took her away from them. Now, here's what really bothers me about this whole situation. Medical complications from bariatric surgery aren't rare. We're talking about major reconstructive surgery on your digestive system. The risks include bowel obstructions, nutritional deficiencies, hernias, and yes, even death. But these risks are often downplayed because the surgery is marketed as a life-saving procedure. Don't get me wrong, for many people it absolutely is life-saving. But Lisa Marie's death highlights how these routine procedures can have devastating long-term consequences that doctors don't always fully explain. And the timing makes it even more tragic. Lisa Marie died just 2 days after attending the Golden Globe Awards, where Austin Butler won for playing her father in the Elvis movie. She was there, supporting the film, honoring her father's legacy one last time. It was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it became her final public appearance. Priscilla revealed that the pain is still raw, still present every single day. It still is, she said about how hard it remains. This isn't past tense grief. This is present, ongoing, living with it every moment grief. And you know what? That's normal. That's real. That's what grief actually looks like, not the sanitized version we see in movies where people move on and heal according to some predetermined timeline. But here's what I find incredibly moving about Priscilla's honesty. She's not trying to rank her pain. She's not saying losing Lisa Marie hurt more than losing Elvis, or less. She's saying they're different. Each loss carved out its own space in her heart, created its own type of emptiness. Losing Elvis was losing her first love, her youth, her dreams of what their life could have been. Losing Lisa Marie was losing her future, her legacy, her reason to keep going. Both losses are incomparable because they're incomparable to anything else in human experience. And this brings me to something I think we all need to hear. Priscilla Presley, at 80 years old, is teaching us that resilience doesn't mean being unbreakable. It doesn't mean bouncing back. It doesn't mean being strong all the time or having all the answers. Resilience means continuing to breathe when breathing